Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are undertaking, well, a truly intensive instructional mission.
hmm
We are bridging two seemingly disparate worlds, the minute precision of botanical science and the rigorous discipline of military strategy. And we're viewing all of this through the lens of one, well, highly strategic citrus fruit.
That's right. Our source material today is, it's quite a stack. And it really requires not just a summary, but a true tutorial-level approach.
Exact.
On one side, we have, the comprehensive history, the chemistry, the cultivation breakdown of the Clementine, Citrus clementina. And on the other side, we've got this exhaustive, almost tactical culinary instruction manual. It's called the Complete Military Operations Preserve Collection.
Wow.
Yeah, and it details 23 different Clementine-based recipes. Each one is meticulously mapped to a legendary military unit or operation. It's quite something.
Okay, so our goal today isn't just to, tell you what's in the sources. It's really to deliver a comprehensive instructional deep dive. We want to hit every single fact, every mechanism, every guideline, and definitely every single recipe detail. We're calling this mission Clementine Command. And we're going to slow down, really unpack exactly why this fruit, this humble clementine, necessitates such detailed strategic planning, both, on the farm and in the kitchen.
Okay, let's unpack this because the core initial insight here, I think, is that the Clementine is far more complex than just being an easy peeler.
Right.
It's a highly specific Tanger hybrid. And ironically, it requires its growers to execute a really complex, almost battlefield-like strategy just to maintain its most desirable trait.
Which is?
Seedlessness. That's the key.
Okay, let's start with phase one then, defining the asset. Scientifically, the clementine is Citrus X clementina, and it is formally classified as a Tanger. What exactly does that classification tell us about its origins?
Well, the term Tanger specifically signifies a hybrid cross. It's between a mandarin orange type and a sweet orange type. And what's fascinating is that genomic analysis, modern DNA tech, confirms this parentage with beautiful precision.
Okay.
We know the clementine we're talking about is the result of a union between the willow leaf mandarin orange, that's C. X. deliciosa, and the common sweet orange, C. X. sinensis.
And the fact that we needed genomic analysis, that kind of confirms that this wasn't always clear-cut, right? There was some confusion, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. The genomic confirmation is really crucial because it helped resolve a historical ambiguity. There were older suggestions, attributions pointing to similar fruits found way back in Chinese provinces, specifically Guangxi and Guangdong. And look, those fruits are delicious, no doubt, but modern analysis determined they are likely distinct mandarin hybrids. They just happen to share physical characteristics with the clementine we know. They aren't the direct ancestor of the North African cultivar that became so famous.
Gotcha. So the actual origin story, the one we accept now, is fantastic because it ties the fruit not just to a place, but to a person. It was named in honor of a French missionary brother, Clément Rodier. Tell us a bit about the historical setting of that discovery.
Right, so Brother Clément Rodier, he discovered and then propagated this specific cultivar back in the late 19th century, and the location is key. It was in the orphanage garden in Mesogin, Algeria.
An orphanage garden, wow.
Yeah, it's quite a humble origin for a fruit that went on to achieve, global commercial dominance. The formal naming happened a bit later in 1902, and it's interesting to note that specific spot in Algeria, it provided the perfect microclimate for this particular hybrid to thrive and, crucially, to be identified as something unique, a new cultivar. It's really a testament to careful observation, to horticulture in action.
Okay, so we've established its heritage. Let's talk about its physical and chemical operational profile. What makes the clementine stand out visually and, sensorially?
Physically, it's really defined by that deep orange color. It's very appealing. And it has a smooth, glossy appearance. Internally, consistency is key. It separates cleanly into anywhere from about 7 to 14 segments, easy to handle. And sensorially, well, that's its greatest strength, really. It's typically very juicy, incredibly sweet.
And less acidic.
Exactly. Critically, it contains less acid than a standard orange, and that lower acid profile makes it exceptionally palatable for a really wide audience, which, of course, leads to that brilliant commercial descriptor you mentioned earlier, the easy peeler.
Right. Makes perfect sense. Now, when we talk about flavor, we are really talking about chemistry deep down, specifically volatile oils. While, okay, the bulk of citrus aromatics are dominated by limon, what gives the clementine its truly unique, sharp, characteristic scent?
Yeah, that's the supporting cast, you could say, the complex aromatic components. Limon is definitely the the commanding officer of the scent profile, sure.
Mm.
But it's the specific contribution of other compounds like myrcene, linalool, and alpha-pine that creates that signature Clementine nose.
Okay.
Linalool, for example, often contributes these sort of floral, slightly woody notes, and that gives the Clementine a cleaner, maybe brighter finish than some heavier mandarins. And it's these precise components, this specific chemical fingerprint, that really allows for the kind of tactical flavor pairings we're going to see later in the preserve collection.
Ah, interesting. So the chemistry enables the culinary strategy.
In a way, yes, definitely.
Let's talk cultivation then, and climate requirements. The source mentioned the clementine is surprisingly resilient. It has lower heat requirements than many other citrus varieties.
That's right. And this resilience is actually a significant strategic advantage for growers. This lower heat requirement translates directly into a higher tolerance for fruit maturity. It also means reduced sensitivity during the most vulnerable period for the plant, flowering and fruit setting. That's when things can easily go wrong. However, it's interesting, in regions that do have high overall heat, think North Africa, the Mediterranean Basin, or California's Central Valley, it still bears fruit quite early, typically only slightly later than the Satsuma mandarins, so it competes well.
Right.
This characteristic makes it a really strong commercial contender pretty much anywhere citrus is grown.
And the U.S. introduction was relatively quick then. It was already being grown at the Citrus Research Center in California by 1909, is that right?
Yeah, 1909 at the Research Center, and it entered commercial agriculture just a few years later, by 1914.
Okay. And this rapid adoption, this commercial success, brings us directly to the central, you could say, tactical dilemma that defines Clementine's strategy, the seed controversy.
Ah, yes. This is where botany really meets economic warfare. It's fascinating. Because the entire commercial value, pretty much, of the common clementine rests on its seedless nature. People buy it because it doesn't have seeds.
Right, the easy peeler promise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that seedless nature is completely lost if the fruit gets cross-pollinated with other citrus varieties nearby. So the growers, they need to achieve an outcome seedlessness that the tree itself naturally resists if left to its own devices with pollinators around.
Wow. Okay. So to really understand this conflict, we need to detail the three classifications based on seed count that the source mentions.
Correct. It breaks down like this. First, you have the standard seedless clementines. This is the common type you find in North Africa. It's the dominant commercial fruit. It has 0 or practically 0 seeds. And the mechanism here is absolutely key. The tree is self-incompatible,
Meaning?
meaning it can't pollinate itself effectively. It relies on cross-pollination from other compatible trees nearby to actually set fruit, to develop properly. But here's the catch. To maintain that precious seedlessness, cross-pollination must be prevented. If it happens, you get seeds.
Okay, so you need pollination, but you don't want the result of pollination.
Precisely. It's a biological catch-22 for the growers.
Then you have the intermediate class, simply called clementines. What about those?
Right. These are permitted a maximum of 10 seeds per fruit. This is often the result of, slight accidental pollination exposure in the groves. A few bees got through the defenses, so to speak.
Okay. And the third type?
And finally, there's the strategic variant, you could call it, the Monreal type. Now, this variety is different. It's capable of self-pollination. It doesn't need outside help from other trees or pollinators.
Ah.
But the result is a fruit with consistently more than 10 seeds, often quite a lot more. Interestingly, Monreal clementines are often described as being larger and sometimes even sweeter than the common seedless type. They also tend to have a more abundant bloom.
But the seeds?
But the seeds make them much less desirable for that easy peeler mass market. Commercial value drops significantly.
Okay, so let me see if I've got this straight. The common seedless variety needs cross-pollination to set fruit properly.
Correct.
But that very same pollination causes the commercially undesirable seeds.
You got it.
So the growers are literally fighting a war against the natural life cycle of their own plants.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And this led directly to that famous or infamous 2006 beekeeper controversy in California, which feels like the perfect strategic pivot point as we start thinking about the culinary phase, the preserves.
Absolutely, because the economic stakes here are just immense. Growers, particularly the really large operations like Paramount Citrus back then, they recognized that bees, just bees doing the normal thing, carrying pollen from other nearby citrus orchards, maybe regular mandarins, sweet oranges, whatever, they were contaminating their valuable seedless clementine crops, turning seedless fruit into seeded fruit.
Right. Undermining the whole business model.
Exactly. So they were forced to threaten legal action against local beekeepers. They were essentially trying to mandate a pollination no-fly zone around their groves.
Wow.
It was a really critical example of applying extreme economic and legal pressure to try and enforce a specific biological condition, basically controlling the movement of insects to protect the genetic purity, or rather the lack of seeds, in an agricultural product.
It just underscores that the clementine is a strategic asset demanding careful management even before it leaves the grove.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we dive into the recipes themselves, let's quickly review the major cultivars or varieties mentioned, just to round out the picture.
Good idea. We already mentioned the original Algerian variety. That's the Rodier cultivar where it all started. Then in Spain, a major player is the Fina variety. Historically, Fina offered truly superb flavor, especially when it was grafted onto a bitter orange rootstock.
Okay.
However, like many crops, it turned out to be vulnerable to various citrus diseases. So growers had to switch. They needed to use a broader range of more disease-resistant rootstocks.
And that affected the taste.
Unfortunately, yes. For the flavor purists, it did negatively affect its overall taste profile somewhat.
Yeah.
It's a classic strategic trade-off, isn't it? Disease resistance versus achieving that absolute peak flavor quality.
Yeah, makes sense. And the current commercial champion, it seems, is the Clemenules, or Newels.
Yes, exactly. Newell's is probably the most dominant right now. It's a popular, naturally occurring seedless mutation that came from the Fina variety. It's really the workhorse of the industry. It's widely planted in Spain, where it matures typically mid-November to mid-January, and it's also highly successful over in California, maturing a bit earlier, usually October to December.
And characteristics.
It's generally larger than the original Fina, but true to that pattern we just discussed with Fina descendants on new rootstocks, it's maybe slightly less sweet than the historical ideal. We also have the sweet clems group. These are often specialized for extremely easy peeling, and they get sold under popular brand names you might recognize, like Easy Peeler or Clemengold.
Got it. And Italy, they've gone one step further, haven't they? Securing that protected geographical indication, the PGI status, for two specific varieties.
That's right. It's a mark of quality and origin. The first is the Clementine del Golfo di Taranto. It's prized for being practically seedless, having a really intense aroma and a notable sweet flavor. The second is the Clementine de Calabria, grown obviously in the Calabria region down south. And its authenticity is considered so crucial, so valuable, that the source actually mentions it can be verified using something called multi-element fingerprint analysis.
Wow, that's serious quality control, like forensics for fruit.
It really is. That is the definition of supply chain precision, making sure you're getting the real deal from that specific protected region.
So just to set the scale of this whole operation, this Clementine enterprise, the source gives global production data from FastStat for 2016. It groups mandarins, clementines, and satsumas together, but still.
Yeah, the numbers are huge. The total hit 37.8 million tons globally in 2016. China absolutely dominates production with 17.2 million tons. That's almost half the world's total right there. But Spain, which is really the epicenter of that Newell's variety we talked about, is a very strong second at 7.9 million tons. Then you have Turkey, Morocco, Egypt, and Brazil all following, each contributing over 1 million tons. It really proves the clementine's global importance and reach.
Okay. Before we finally transition to the culinary battlefield, the preserves, we absolutely must cover the clementine's own sort of operational readiness profile, its nutrition.
Right, the fuel value.
Exactly. So in a standard 100-gram serving, about the size of one medium clementine, the fruit provides 198 kilojoules, which is about 47 kilocalories. It's mostly water, about 87%. Then 12% carbohydrates with really minimal fat, just 0.15 grams, and protein around 0.85 grams.
Yeah, and the energy profile is quite interesting when you break down those carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Out of the roughly 12 grams of total carbs, sucrose is the dominant fuel source, coming in at almost 6 grams, 5.96 G. That's followed by fructose at about 1.6 grams, 1.64 G, and glucose at about 1.6 grams, 1.59 G as well.
So a mix of sugars.
A mix, yes. It also offers a moderate amount of dietary fiber, about 1.7 grams per 100-gram serving. But its primary weapon, you could say, its main strategic micronutrient is definitely vitamin C.
How much?
It delivers a very respectable 48.8 milligrams per 100 grams. And that translates to a whopping 54% of the recommended daily value. It's a vitamin C powerhouse.
Wow, over half your daily C in one little fruit. That's significant. And beyond vitamin C, it provides other essential support elements too, right? Tell us about the B vitamins and minerals mentioned.
Sure. We see a good presence of several B vitamins. There's thiamine B1 at 0.086 milligrams, niacin B3 at 0.636 milligrams, and folate B9 at 24 micrograms. Folate, of course, is crucial for things like cell division and metabolism, so that's
What
important.
minerals?
For minerals, potassium comes in quite strong at 177 milligrams. That's important for nerve and muscle function, fluid balance. And you also get calcium at 30 milligrams. Not a huge amount, but it contributes.
Okay. This depth, this nutritional profile, brings us to the final and actually quite complex piece of research that we found mentioned in the sources. It's about a potential controversy, or at least a question, regarding drug interactions, similar to grapefruit.
Ah, yes. This is a really crucial lesson in scientific complexity and how understanding evolves. So a study published in 2017 initially indicated that certain phytochemicals found in clementines might interact with some pharmaceutical drugs. And the concern was that this interaction could mirror the well-documented effect of grapefruit juice.
Right, the famous grapefruit warning on many medications.
Exactly. Grapefruit contains compounds that can inhibit or slow down certain enzymes in the gut and liver, particularly the CYP3A family of enzymes. And these enzymes are absolutely critical for metabolizing for breaking down a huge number of common medications. If they're inhibited, drug levels can build up in the body, potentially causing side effects.
Okay, so the 2017 study raised a red flag about clementines potentially doing the same thing.
It did. It suggested a possibility.
And here is where it gets really interesting, as you like to say.
Yes. Because a follow-up study was conducted specifically to address this concern, published in 2019. And this study showed no effect of clementine consumption on something called CYP3A-dependent midazolam clearance. And this was observed in single-case experiments.
Okay, unpack CYT3A-dependent midazolam clearance for us. Sounds very technical.
It does, but it's basically a standard test. Midazolam is a drug that's known to be broken down almost exclusively by the CYP3A4 enzyme, the main one affected by grapefruit. So pharmacologists use how quickly the body clears midazolam as a reliable indicator, a probe, to see if that CYP3A enzyme activity is being affected by something else, like a food or another drug.
So the 2019 study used this standard test.
Yes, and found that eating clementines didn't slow down the clearance of midazolam.
Meaning it likely wasn't inhibiting the crucial CYP3A enzyme in the same way grapefruit does?
Exactly. The 2019 data effectively called those initial concerns raised in 2017 into serious question, at least based on that specific, well-established test method. Now, the true insight here, I think, isn't just the reversal or the questioning of the initial finding. It's the recognition that citrus compounds, in general, are biologically active. They're complex enough that they do require this level of targeted critical testing to understand their potential effects, positive or negative.
Right. It's a reminder not to jump to conclusions based on preliminary findings, especially when it comes to health interactions.
Precisely. Science is a process.
Okay. Having established the clementine as, well, a surprisingly strategic and nutritionally powerful asset, both botanically and chemically, let's deploy it. We are now entering the fascinating world of tactical flavor deployment.
I like that phrase.
We're diving into the first half of those 23 preserves, detailed in the Complete Military Operations Preserve Collection.
Right. And for each one, we'll explore the precise military analogy the source uses, the required technical method or culinary strategy, and any key nutritional insight. We'll focus on how the culinary approach is designed to mirror the operational mandate of its namesake.
Perfect. Starting with recipe 1. Clementine jalapeno achar. The analogy here is Operation Desert Storm Shock and Awe. That's evocative.
It really is. And the operational mandate here is clearly rapid, overwhelming force, immediate impact. The key ingredients reflect this. 3 cups of clementines, 4 whole jalapenos, and critically, the recipe demands leaving the seeds in for maximum intensity, plus sunflower oil, mustard seeds, the Baharat spice blend, some date syrup for balance, and fresh ginger.
Okay, and the method. How does it deliver shock and awe?
The technical method is key. The mustard seeds are deployed first into shimmering hot oil. They crackle and pop explosively, almost like the opening salvos of the campaign. It's very auditory. Then the other ingredients are added quickly. The tactical insight from the source is that the clementine's bright acidity cuts right through the heaviness of the oil and the richness of that complex Middle Eastern Baharat spice blend. Meanwhile, the seeded jalapeno delivers that controlled but very definite, targeted intensity.
And nutritionally, what's the payload?
Nutritionally, this ACAR is pretty robust. It clocks in at 165 calories per serving. But the standout is the sodium. It delivers a huge 420 milligrams of sodium, which is about 18% of your daily value.
Wow, high sodium.
Very high for preserve.
Yeah.
It really shows how rapid flavor deployment using things like salt and pungent spices can impact the operational readiness profile, let's say. But despite that, it still maintains a high vitamin C level, 53% of the daily value, thanks to those clementines.
Okay, interesting trade-offs there. Moving to recipe 2, Clementine onion chutney. This one honors Operation Overlord, the D-Day coordination. Now, that operation was defined by meticulous long-term planning and staggering patience, right?
Absolutely, years of planning. And the recipe mirrors that strategic patience beautifully. It calls for 2.5 cups of clementines, but the core is 8 large yellow onions, and these must be slow caramelized. The instructions specify a minimum of 90 minutes.
90 minutes just for the onions.
Minimum. You absolutely cannot rush the foundation here. That deep flavor takes time. Other components include golden raisins, cider vinegar, brown sugar, some crystallized ginger, and importantly, a splash of Calvados brandy.
Ah, the Calvados, bringing that vital Norman authenticity to the D-Day theme.
Exactly. It's a brilliant touch. The strategy here, according to the source, is that the deep, savory, almost meaty foundation created by those incredibly slow caramelized onions prevents the clementine and the brown sugar from becoming just overwhelmingly sweet or simplistic. It adds complexity and depth. And the crystallized ginger, that's described as this sharp punctuation representing the early paratroopers who dropped in to establish those critical forward positions before the main landing.
Love that analogy. Nutrition.
At 155 calories, it's fairly high in sugars, around 34 grams, mostly from the onions, raisins, and brown sugar. But the onions and raisins contribute a good amount of fiber, about 14% of the daily value, and also beneficial compounds like quercetin from the onions.
Okay. Next up, recipe 3. Clementine honey compote. This one's dedicated to Special Forces precision ops. The mission seems to be minimal footprint, maximum effectiveness.
That's the perfect description. The method demands precision and really minimal interference with the main ingredient. It uses 3 cups of clementines, but the key instruction is that they must be barely crushed. Just enough to release some juice, but maintain integrity.
Okay.
This is combined with just a small amount, a quarter cup of wildflower honey, some fresh rosemary, lemon juice and zest for brightness, a touch of vanilla, cardamom, and then pine nuts just for garnish at the end. And the cooking method itself must be brief and very controlled. The goal is to maintain the structural integrity of those clementine segments, avoiding what the source calls a blown cover, meaning you don't want an overly mushy, indistinct texture.
Right, keep the asset intact.
Exactly. The rosemary is there to enhance, not dominate. It's about precision execution delivering clear results. And it works nutritionally too. At only 125 calories, this specific compote preparation achieves the highest vitamin C level at 58% DV within the compote category described in the book. Plus, it's loaded with antioxidants from the fresh citrus, lemon, and herbs.
Very efficient. Now, prepare for a tactical extreme. Recipe 4. Clementine bacon fat confit. The analogy is Navy SEALs maritime precision. This sounds like a high-risk, high-reward technique.
Oh, it absolutely is. This is presented as the ultimate maneuver in the preserve world, requiring strict adherence to protocol. No room for error. It calls for 2 cups of whole clementines, preserved by slowly cooking them in 3/4 of a cup of rendered bacon fat.
Whole clementines and bacon fat.
Whole clementines, skin and all, gently poached in bacon fat. Plus, you add 6 strips of crispy rendered bacon back in, along with thyme, garlic, bay leaves, and juniper berries for aromatics. And the technique is explicitly non-negotiable according to the source. The fat must be heated to exactly 160 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 71 degrees C. Low and slow.
Precision temperature control.
Demolition level precision, yes.
Yeah.
And it must be held steady at that temperature for 3 to 4 hours. This constant, gentle, low temperature bath preserves the fruit beautifully while deeply infusing it with the savory bacon fat and aromatics.
And the insight. Why bacon fat with citrus?
The insight offered is that the extreme richness of the rendered bacon fat, which is usually used for savory preservation like duck confit, remarkably enhances the clementine's inherent brightness. It's a surprising pairing that creates an elite and obviously very calorie-dense preserve.
Okay, let's hear the nutritional damage report on this one.
Yeah. Nutritionally, this is by far the most demanding, the most intense in the entire collection. It packs 275 calories per serving, the highest calorie overall. It's extremely high in total fat, about 26 grams, and particularly saturated fat, around 9 grams per serving. And the sodium is off the charts for a preserve, a tactical 890 milligrams, which is nearly 40%, 39% of your daily value.
Wow, that is an astonishing amount of fat and sodium. But I guess it certainly fits the bill of calorie-dense, long-burning fuel needed for prolonged, perhaps cold weather special operations.
It perfectly illustrates the source's theme, that Elite results sometimes require elite and maybe even risky techniques, and they definitely require high-octane fuel sources, not your everyday jam.
Definitely not. Okay, let's look at the next few, moving from that high-fat precision to something more about high-volume resilience. Recipe 5 is Clementine Cranberry Conserve. This one honors the Red Army and specifically Eastern Front resilience.
Right. This strategy emphasizes resourcefulness and making do in harsh conditions. It uses chunked clementines, dried cranberries, toasted walnuts for substance, brown sugar, and a key non-negotiable ingredient according to the instructions, vodka.
Vodka in the conserve.
Yes. The dried cranberries are specifically rehydrated in the vodka first. The source links this to symbolizing resistance growing stronger, even under pressure. The clementines themselves, rich in vitamin C, are framed as representing the critical supply lines needed to fight off things like scurvy during long, difficult campaigns. And the walnuts provide those essential fats and proteins for sustained operations in harsh conditions. Very practical.
Makes sense thematically. Nutrition.
It's 185 calories per serving. It provides a good 20% of your daily value for vitamin E, likely from the walnuts. And it contains powerful proanthocyanidins, those antioxidants famous in cranberries.
Okay. Recipe 6. Clementine Cream Cheese Curd. This one's for the Air Force Strategic Precision. This sounds like an exercise in refinement and smooth delivery.
Indeed, it requires technical excellence and, well, a smooth result. It uses ultra-smooth clementine juice, the instructions say, to strain it repeatedly until it's crystal clear, like having high-altitude visibility.
Nice detail.
Yeah. That's combined with 6 ounces of cream cheese, 4 egg yolks for richness, superfine sugar, some heavy cream, and a touch of Grand Marnier liqueur for sophistication. The method demands constant whisking and monitoring over very gentle heat to achieve a perfectly smooth, rich emulsion, like a lemon curd but with clementine and cream cheese.
And the flavor profile.
The source says the rich tang from the cream cheese actually enhances the clementine's natural sharpness, preventing it from being too sweet. It creates this luxurious velvety texture that, operationally speaking, carries the other ingredients to new heights of flavor, like a smooth flight.
Okay. And the stats?
Nutritionally, it's 195 calories. It is quite high in saturated fat because of the cream cheese and egg yolks, about 10 grams, which is 50% of the DV. But on the plus side, it provides good sources of calcium, around 15% DV, and vitamin A, again from the dairy and yolks.
Got it. The next two recipes seem to showcase discipline and then extreme contrast. First, Recipe 7, Clementine Brown Sugar Dulce. The analogy is the Marine Corps, Semper Fi, steadfast, dependable.
Right. This process requires concentration and what the source calls controlled aggression in the cooking. You start with concentrated clementine juice, reduced down significantly to strip away the non-essential water, focusing the flavor.
Okay.
Then you cook brown sugar until it's deeply caramelizing. You add heavy cream, butter, and a robust dash of bourbon.
Bourbon, okay.
Yeah, finished with flaky sea salt. The strategy here is really reducing the fruit to its core essence, its most intense form. The bourbon, the source suggests, adds the kind of richness that's earned through adversity or hard training. Semper Fi.
And the numbers.
It clocks in at 215 calories. It is high in sugars, about 36 grams, due to the brown sugar and concentrated juice. But it benefits nutritionally from the depth provided by the molasses compounds present in the brown sugar.
Okay. Now contrast that dependable, almost traditional richness with Recipe 8, Clementine Kimchi Ferment. This is a tribute to the Korean War, termed the Forgotten Victory in the source, and it requires significant adaptation and fusion.
Yeah, this is a fascinating fusion of tactics and contours. It uses quartered clementines combined with traditional kimchi ingredients, napa cabbage, gochugaru, Korean chili flakes, fish sauce, sesame oil, miso paste for umami depth, scallions, ginger, and garlic.
Clementines and kimchi, how does that work?
The tactical maneuver described is to lightly salt the clementine quarters first, almost like establishing defensive positions, before mixing them into the kimchi paste and cabbage. Then the whole mixture undergoes a natural fermentation for about 5 to 7 days. The source frames this as the different international forces learning to work together during the conflict.
Interesting parallel. And the flavor result?
The insight offered is that the bright, acidic clementine citrus perfectly balances the intense, funky, fermented heat of the kimchi. It creates something new and harmonious, honoring the cooperation required during that war.
Okay, this one sounds like the nutritional profile could be extreme.
It is. Nutritionally, this preserve is a definite outlier. It's extremely high in sodium, coming in at 1,450 milligrams per serving. That's a massive 63% of your daily value, mainly from the salt used in the fermentation process.
Whoa.
But on the other hand, because it's a fermented product, it offers very high levels of probiotics,
Hmm.
beneficial gut bacteria, and it still packs a huge vitamin C punch, 64% of the DV from the clementines and cabbage. So extreme highs and lows.
Definitely tactical food. Okay, moving on to portability and maybe stealth. Recipe 9. Clementine ginger leather. Dedicated to the airborne, operating behind enemy lines.
Right, this is all about pure, concentrated, portable nutrition. Lightweight, high impact. It uses highly concentrated clementine juice, fresh ginger juice for a kick, a bit of honey, lime juice and zest, a touch of white pepper, and some finely diced crystallized ginger mixed in.
And how do you make it into leather?
The method is key. You reduce the juice mixture until it's incredibly thick, described poetically as being thick as parachute silk. Then you spread it thinly onto sheets and dehydrate it at a low temperature, 135 degrees air, about 57 degrees C, for a long time, 18 to 22 hours. This creates a flexible, tearable sheet of fruit leather. During this process, the food acids concentrate dramatically, and the ginger flavor intensifies intensely through the drying. Perfect for a pack.
And the nutrition stats reflect that concentration.
They do. It's very efficient. Only 95 calories per serving and virtually zero fat. But it boasts the highest vitamin C content overall in the entire collection, a massive 76% of the daily value. It also contains gingerol from the ginger, known for its own benefits. Minimal weight, maximum nutritional impact.
Impressive. Okay, recipe 10. Clementine herb compound butter. This one honors the Rangers lead the way. This sounds about versatility and maybe some elite execution.
Exactly. It demands an aggressive preparation phase to build flavor. First, you roast the clementines at a high temperature, 450 degrees, around 230 degrees C, to really concentrate their sugars and develop intense character.
Roast the clementines. Interesting.
Yeah, then this roasted fruit pulp is combined with high-quality European butter, a mix of fresh herbs, parsley, chives, tarragon are suggested, a little olive oil, white wine vinegar for acidity, roasted garlic, and a pinch of cayenne pepper. And a crucial step. The butter must be browned first, cooked until it's nutty and golden. The source links this color to the Rangers' berets. It's a highly technical step that adds huge flavor depth.
Right, brown butter is amazing.
Then you mash the roasted clementine and other ingredients into the warm brown butter. The insight here is that the intense, slightly caramelized roasted citrus pairs perfectly with the subtle, savory, herb-infused brown butter. It showcases an elite, refined technique leading the way in flavor.
Sounds delicious, but probably high in fat.
Oh yes. Nutritionally, it's definitely high-fat fuel, very high saturated fat, around 55% of the DV per serving from the butter. And it's also quite high in sodium, 625 milligram or 27% of the DV, likely from the butter and any added salt. Ranger rations. Got it. Next, recipe 11. Clementine white bean paste. This is presented as a nod to the United Nations peacekeeping mission focusing on stability and sustenance through cooperation. Right. The mission here is described as achieving stability while respecting local sovereignty, metaphorically speaking. It uses small diced clementines mixed with cooked cannellini beans, or other white beans, olive oil, tahini, fresh mint, cumin, coriander, and roasted garlic are also added.
How is it prepared?
The method specifies partially mashing the beans. You want some texture left, representing that respect for individual components within the whole. The tahini and olive oil act as binding agents, tying the diverse cultural elements, citrus, beans, Middle Eastern flavors, together harmoniously. The strategic insight is that the white beans provide valuable plant-based protein and complex carbohydrates for sustained energy and richness, while the clementines add brightness and acidity. Diverse ingredients creating a harmonious, nourishing result.
And the nutritional profile reflects that balance.
It does. It's 155 calories per serving. It's notably high in protein for preserve, about 6 grams per serving thanks to the beans. It's also an excellent source of folate, vitamin B9, providing 21% of the DV, which is crucial for energy metabolism. And it's high in dietary fiber as well, about 21% DV, again for the beans. Very well-rounded.
Okay. And finally for this phase, recipe 12, Clementine pomegranate gastrique. This one represents intelligence information warfare. Sounds intriguing.
It does. It's portrayed as complex, layered, and requiring the reduction of data, or in this case juice, to its purest, most potent form. This uses reduced clementine juice as a base, combined with pomegranate molasses, champagne vinegar, a touch of honey, a splash of cognac, dried oregano, sumac for tartness, and a hint of cinnamon.
A gastrique. That's a sweet and sour sauce, right?
Exactly. A classic culinary technique. The process involves reducing the clementine juice until it's thick, described as being thick as classified briefings. The pomegranate molasses is likened to complex human intelligence, dark, deep, and adding layers of information. The champagne vinegar provides the acidity needed to cut through potential disinformation, or muddiness in the flavor profile. Cognac adds sophistication.
And the strategy.
The strategy proves, according to the source, that synthesizing multiple, rich, distinct sources, in this case, the bright Clementine and the deep pomegranate, creates a superior intelligence product, a more complex and effective gastrique.
Nutrition on this Intel briefing.
It comes in at 135 calories. Its main nutritional highlight is being very high in antioxidants. This comes both from the Clementine and significantly from the pomegranate molasses, which contains potent compounds called punicolagens, good for cellular defense.
Okay, we've covered the first 12 tactical deployments. We've seen everything from that incredibly high-fat seal confit to the complex balance of the UN white bean paste. Now we move into the second half of the collection, Phase 3. It seems the focus here shifts a bit more towards maybe technological precision, strong regional influences, and really disciplined techniques.
That's a good summary. We're definitely shifting focus now to methods that create completely new textures and explore different flavor dimensions, still using the Clementine as that strategic core. And we start with something that feels, well, almost futuristic.
Right. Recipe 13, Clementine agar gel. The analogy is the Space Force orbital operations.
Yeah, this requires absolute technical purity and precision, like engineering for space. It demands crystal clear Clementine juice. The source even mentions potentially using centrifugal clarification to achieve perfect clarity, like looking through a spacecraft window. That super clear juice is then combined with agar powder, a seaweed-based gelling agent, agave nectar for sweetness, lime juice and zest, a hint of ginger and cardamom for complexity, and the garnish. Edible silver stars.
Edible silver stars.
Of course, naturally. The method involves dissolving the agar powder with absolute precision into the liquid, heating it carefully and letting it set. The source likens this to managing spacecraft life support systems. Everything has to be exact. Agar creates this unique, firm, yet yielding, transparent gel texture. It's specifically described as being engineered for potential consumption in a non-traditional environment, maybe even zero gravity.
Fascinating concept. And the calories must be low.
Extremely low. At just 85 calories per serving, this is the lowest calorie preserve in the entire collection. It has virtually zero fat and zero protein. It's purely about delivering flavor and that unique, stable structure. Very minimalist.
Okay, from the future back to Earth, but with a definite fusion of geography and heat. Recipe 14, Clementine harissa jam. This honors the Foreign Legion with a nod to beau geste. Hardy, adaptable, maybe a bit exotic.
Exactly. Hearty, refined in its own way, and distinctly North African in its flavor profile. It uses lightly crushed clementines again, maintaining some individual character combined with harissa paste for that characteristic North African heat, turbinado sugar for a slightly rustic sweetness, a touch of rose water, and orange blossom honey.
Harissa and rosewater. That's an interesting combination with clementine.
It is. The process involves gently folding in the harissa, controlling the heat level. The rosewater, the source suggests, adds a layer of French colonial sophistication, linking back to the Foreign Legion's origins. The operational insight here is about bridging that intense spice from the harissa with a delicate floral refinement of the rosewater, using the clementine as the base, a balancing act.
Nutrition. Heat level.
It contains moderate levels of capsaicin, the compound that makes chilies hot, depending on the harissa used. It's 165 calories per serving and still provides a high 58% of the daily value for vitamin C.
Okay. Next, recipe 15, Clementine port wine jelly. This one's dedicated to the long-standing strategic authority of the Royal Navy Britannia, rules the waves, that sort of thing.
Yes, this is presented as a preserve of nobility, tradition, and enduring quality. It uses strained clementine juice combined with a good quality vintage port wine. Crucially, the port is reduced by half first to concentrate its character.
Ah, intensifying the port.
Exactly. That's mixed with liquid pectin to ensure a good jelly set, a splash of aged sherry vinegar for complexity, a sprig of rosemary, and some cracked black peppercorns for a hint of spice. The technique requires simmering this mixture carefully until it reaches the perfect sweet-tart balance, which the source likens to maintaining the balance of global power.
Nice.
The idea is that the nobility of the concentrated port enhances the clementine's natural brightness, creating a sophisticated preserve that, like well-established naval traditions, actually improves with age.
Does it keep well, then?
Jellies often do. Nutritionally, it's relatively light at 115 calories with zero fat, and thanks to the port wine, it contains some resveratrol, an antioxidant associated with grapes.
Interesting. Now for a very different kind of tradition. Recipe 16, Clementine blood orange marmalade. This embodies the samurai and the Bushido code discipline, honorable, and requiring absolutely exacting preparation.
Precision is absolutely mandatory here, reflecting the discipline of Bushido. It uses chopped clementines mixed with blood oranges, using both the peel and the segments for full flavor and texture. Raw sugar provides sweetness, and then sake is added.
Sakyo. Okay, keeping the theme.
Yes, for Japanese authenticity, plus fresh ginger and vanilla bean. But the method, the way of the warrior as the source calls it, is crucial. It requires julienning the citrus peel with the exactness of a sword maker. Very fine, very precise shreds. And then that peel must be blanched 3 times in fresh boiling water each time. This is done to remove any excessive bitterness, purifying the flavor.
A purification ritual almost.
Exactly. The site provides that specific Japanese context. The strategic insight offered is that the natural bitterness inherent in the blood orange peel perfectly complements the clementine sweetness, but only when the preparation technique is disciplined and precise. Get it wrong, and it's just bitter.
And the nutritional payoff for this discipline.
It's significant, especially in vitamin C. This marmalade achieves the highest vitamin C level overall in the entire book, a stunning 80% of the daily value per serving. That's thanks to using both clementines and blood oranges. Plus, it benefits visually and nutritionally from the powerful anthocyanins, the pigments that give blood oranges their signature deep red color.
Very impressive. Okay, shifting gears again. Recipe 17. Clementine mustard mostarda, representing the unforgiving Prussian army discipline. That sounds intense.
It does sound intense. The focus here is on systematic, rigid efficiency and sharp flavors. It requires large diced clementines, cut with what the source calls parade ground precision. Uniformity is key. This is combined with a hefty half cup of Dijon mustard, white wine vinegar for tang, whole yellow mustard seeds, turmeric for color and earthiness, and some juniper berries.
A mostarda. That's fruit preserved in mustard syrup.
Sure.
Quite pungent.
Very pungent, traditionally Italian, but here given a Prussian twist. The method involves toasting the whole yellow mustard seeds, first described as needing mechanical precision to bring out their flavor. Then everything is cooked together until the mixture is thick enough, as the source puts it, to hold formation. Like disciplined soldiers. The sharp pungent heat from the Dijon and the whole mustard seeds provides the tactical balance to the clementine sweetness. A systematic approach creating superior, if challenging, results.
Challenging indeed. Nutrition. I bet sodium is high again.
You bet correctly. This conserve is very high in sodium, clocking in at 980 milligrams per serving, which is 43% of the daily value, mostly from the Dijon mustard. It also contains significant amounts of allyl isothiocyanate, the compound responsible for mustard's characteristic pungent kick and potential health effects.
Okay, definitely a specialized taste. Let's jump way back in history now. Recipe 18. Clementine fig preserves. This honors the longevity and reach of the Roman legion SPQR.
Right. This one is about endurance, civilization building, and leveraging the bounty of the Mediterranean. It uses chunked clementines cooked together with fresh figs, quartered. Raw honey is used for sweetener, along with some red wine, fresh rosemary, and bay leaves for aromatics, all classic Roman Mediterranean ingredients.
Simple, classic combination.
It's very classic. The process described involves cooking the fruits until they meld together, soften, and the flavors combine. But crucially, they should still maintain some distinct character. You should still know you're eating fig and clementine. The source draws an analogy here to the Roman Empire, unifying diverse peoples under one banner but allowing them to retain some identity.
Nice metaphor.
Yeah. The honey provided essential fuel for the legions. The wine added sophistication. The fig's deep, earthy sweetness is seen as complementing the clementine's brightness perfectly, honoring those deep Mediterranean traditions that form the foundation of Western civilization.
And the nutritional foundation.
This preserve stands out as being the highest in carbohydrates, 44 grams per serving, and also the highest in sugars, 40 grams per serving in the entire collection, thanks to the figs and honey. It also provides a good source of potassium, important for hydration and muscle function, legion fuel.
Definitely energy dense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up, recipe 19, Clementine balsamic reduction. This is the signature of the SS Who Dares Wins. Elite, concentrated, perhaps a bit mysterious.
Uncompromising determination and deep complexity are the themes here. It uses concentrated clementine juice as the base, mixed with high-quality, aged balsamic vinegar, raw honey, dried oregano, cracked black pepper, a bit of fennel seed, and star anise for complexity.
Aged balsamic, that adds a lot of depth.
Exactly. The process requires reducing the clementine juice significantly until it's very thick and syrupy, mirroring the intense determination required for SAS selection. The aged balsamic vinegar provides that complex, almost savory depth that only comes from decades of patient development and aging. It's not just sweet and sour.
Quality and patience.
Those are the key metrics for this elite status result, according to the source. The complexity of the aged balsamic enhances the concentrated Clementine character. Who dares wins indeed.
Nutrition on this daring reduction.
It's relatively low in calories, around 105 per serving. Its main strength lies in being very high in antioxidants, both from the concentrated Clementine and the aged balsamic vinegar. It also contains beneficial acetic acid from the vinegar.
Okay. Recipe 20. Clementine hibiscus shrub. A crucial tribute here to the Tuskegee Airmen, the red tails. That's a powerful connection.
It is. This recipe is framed as pioneering, vibrant, and resilient. It uses muddled clementines gently crushed to release juice but maintain dignity, as the source puts it, steeped in strong, brewed hibiscus tea.
Ah, hibiscus for the deep red color, like the red tails plains.
Precisely, that's explicitly mentioned. This mixture is combined with apple cider vinegar, crucially the raw, unfiltered kind with the mother intact for probiotic potential, agave nectar for sweetness, smoked paprika for depth, and a touch of cayenne pepper for heat.
A shrub. That's a drinking vinegar, right?
Yes, an old preservation method that creates a tangy syrup you mix with water or soda. The method here involves macerating the mixture, letting it steep for 48 hours to fully develop the complex flavors. The insight is that the floral acidity from the hibiscus enhances the clementine's brightness, and the resulting probiotic drinking vinegar honors the pioneering spirit of the Tuskegee Airmen.
And the stats on this red tail tribute.
It's quite light, 85 calories per serving. It delivers a high 61% of the daily value for vitamin C. And thanks to the hibiscus, it contains those beneficial anthocyanin pigments again, plus potential probiotics from the raw apple cider vinegar.
Very nice. Getting near the end now. Recipe 21. Clementine maple syrup. Celebrating the Canadian Armed Forces' true north, strong and free.
Right. This one emphasizes reliability, regional strength, and maybe a bit of warmth for the cold. It uses ultra-concentrated clementine juice reduced until it's incredibly thick, described as being thick as Canadian resolve.
Huh. Love these descriptions.
Me too. This thick juice is then blended with pure Canadian maple syrup, a splash of Canadian whiskey, vanilla extract, and a hint of cinnamon.
A very Canadian combination.
Absolutely. The process focuses on achieving that deep concentration of the clementine first. The maple syrup then adds its unique complexity and sweetness. The whiskey provides that warming spirit. The insight is straightforward. The distinctive maple sweetness enhances the concentrated clementine brightness, showing how combining strong regional strengths creates superior warming results.
Nutrition. Maple syrup means minerals, right?
Yes, exactly. It's 135 calories per serving, 0 protein. But it stands out as being a good source of manganese, providing 26% of the daily value. Manganese is vital for various metabolic processes and bone health, a nice bonus from the maple.
Okay, second to last. Recipe 22. Clementine white wine vinegar, the essence of the French resistance Vive la France. Subtle, artisanal, persistent, maybe working in secret.
That's precisely the theme. This is portrayed as a long-term, almost stealth operation in fermentation. It requires crushed and fermented clementines as the base. You actually start an alcoholic fermentation first, like making wine. This is done in darkness, the source notes, like resistant cells organizing.
Wow.
To this fermenting clementine base, you add dry white wine and, crucially, a raw wine vinegar starter culture, the mother, to convert the alcohol to acetic acid. Tarragon, shallots, and white peppercorns are added for flavor. The method demands patience. The mixture needs to age for 12 to 16 weeks for the conversion to complete and the flavors to mature.
So you're making vinegar from scratch using clementines.
Exactly. The insight is that the natural sugars in the clementines create the perfect base for fermentation, and the addition of French white wine adds terroir and complexity, elevating the final product to a truly artisanal vinegar. A subtle victory achieved through patience.
And the final product? Nutrition.
The resulting vinegar is extremely low in calories, tied for the lowest calorie preserve overall at just 55 calories per serving, assuming a standard serving size for vinegar. It contains about 5% acetic acid, which is standard for vinegar, and potentially retains some probiotics from the mother culture. Very lean, very sharp.
Okay. And finally, the absolute pinnacle of the collection, Recipe 23, Clementine vanilla bean syrup. This one earns the Medal of Honor representing actions above and beyond the call of duty.
Yes, this is positioned as requiring exceptional technique and resulting in something truly valorous in its quality. It uses ultra-concentrated clementine juice again, organic sugar, and critically, 3 whole vanilla beans, which must be split and scraped meticulously. The number and quality of the beans are emphasized.
3 vanilla beans. That's serious vanilla flavor.
That's a huge amount, signifying the importance and rarity. The juice is reduced to a deep concentration, representing courage under fire. The vanilla beans are scraped with precision, likened to the care taken during an honor ceremony. The syrup is then finished off the heat with a touch of heavy cream and butter for richness and mouthfeel. And the presentation, optional but suggested, edible gold leaf.
Gold leaf for the Medal of Honor syrup. Perfect.
Absolutely. The insight here is simple but profound. The intense aromatic compounds from that generous amount of high-quality vanilla enhance the clementine's brightness in a truly exceptional way. Superior technique and ingredients elevate a simple syrup to medal-worthy status.
And the final stats for this award winner.
It contains significant amounts of vanillin, the main flavor compound in vanilla. It sits at 155 calories per serving, reflecting the sugar, cream, and butter. A rich reward.
Wow. Okay, that concludes our incredibly detailed operational overview of all 23 distinct culinary missions from the Preserve collection. We have seen just tremendous variation in flavor profiles, in the techniques required, and definitely in the nutritional impact of each one. Let's try to consolidate some of that data now for the listener, a sort of nutritional after-action report.
Good plan. The first, and probably the most consistent takeaway across the board, is what we could call the vitamin C command. The clementine itself is a true nutritional powerhouse in that regard. And critically, vitamin C is relatively stable during many preservation methods. So every single one of these 23 recipes is vitamin C rich. And the source specifically highlights that 6 different preparations actually exceed 58% the daily value per serving.
6 of them. That's impressive retention.
It really is. It just confirms the clementine's fundamental role in providing that crucial immune support, which the source repeatedly links to sustained operational readiness.
Okay. We also identified what you called a crucial probiotic triad within the collection. Can you remind us which ones those were?
Sure. Those were the 3 recipes that utilize controlled fermentation, potentially offering benefits for digestive health. They were the Clementine Kimchi Ferment, recipe #8, the Clementine Hibiscus Shrub, recipe #20, and the Clementine White Wine Vinegar, recipe #22.
Right. So beyond just calories or vitamins, those 3 offer that extra dimension of live cultures.
Exactly, showcasing the value of fermentation as a preservation strategy with added benefits.
Now, when we look at energy and performance, the recipes seem to show kind of strategic balance, don't they?
They do. On one hand, you have the fruit sugars from the clementines, providing relatively quick fuel, quick energy. But we also see vital components added in many recipes, specifically for sustained operations, for longer-lasting energy. Think about ingredients like the cannellini beans in the UN, white bean paste, recipe #11, or the toasted walnuts in the Red Army cranberry conserve, recipe #5.
Right, adding fiber and protein.
Precisely, providing necessary fiber and protein for endurance. The white bean paste is particularly notable here, as we mentioned, for providing that excellent 21% DV of folate, which is essential for red blood cell development and overall energy metabolism.
And what about mineral support across the collection? Any other highlights there?
There were definitely some standouts for specific minerals supporting various physiological functions. We saw the high manganese content in the Canadian maple syrup, recipe #21, which aids metabolism and antioxidant systems. The Marine Corps brown sugar dolce, recipe #7, would contribute some iron from the molasses in the brown sugar, vital for oxygen transport. And the Roman Legion fig preserves, recipe #18, provided a decent amount of calcium, alongside that high potassium level we noted. So a varied mineral profile across the different strategies.
Okay. And finally, antioxidants. That seemed like a recurring theme too.
Absolutely. The antioxidant defense capability across the collection is quite powerful. You start with the inherent antioxidant capacity of the citrus fruit itself, particularly vitamin C. But then this is significantly bolstered in several recipes by strategic additions. We saw the pomegranate molasses in the intelligence gastrique, recipe #12, providing those potent punicalagins, and the blood orange in the samurai marmalade, recipe #16, contributing those colorful anthocyanins. These compounds really enhance the overall cellular defense potential of the preserves.
Okay. A final practical note then. Logistics and storage guidelines. How long do these tactical preserves last?
Right. Operational readiness includes shelf life. The natural acidity and sugar content of the clementines definitely aid preservation. The general guideline provided in the source for all these preserves, once properly prepared and sealed, is refrigeration for 8 to 12 months for optimal quality.
8 to 12 months in the fridge. That's pretty good.
It ensures good long-term tactical availability for your pantry, yes. Well, I think we have executed a pretty thorough instructional tutorial here today. We've covered the botanical genesis of the Clementine tanger, the fascinating strategic necessity of controlling its pollination, and then we dissected 23 distinct culinary philosophies, each mapped meticulously to military history, complete with their exact preparation techniques and their nutritional performance statistics. It was quite a mission.
It really was, and I think we've shown that every single detail matters in this framework, from the exact 160-degree airfare temperature required for the Navy SEAL confit to the non-negotiable 90-minute minimum caramelization time for the D-Day chutney onions. Each step is presented as a deliberate, strategic choice with a specific outcome in mind.
Absolutely. The complexity we saw in these Clementine recipes was tied directly to achieving very specific operational objectives, whether that was flavor intensity, unique texture, nutritional density, or shelf life. But the source material, intriguingly, it hints at a vast future, a whole new theater of operations for tactical preserve creation.
Yeah.
It briefly mentions a whole palette of other, often more exotic fruits that could be used, things like ackee, atamoya, durian, jabuticaba, even yellow passion fruit.
Wow. Okay. So based on everything you, our listeners, have learned today about deploying strategic flavors and using specialized ingredients, whether that's leveraging high sodium for field readiness, aiming for low calories for agility, using fermentation for probiotics, or employing those intense precision reduction methods we saw. Here is your final mission, something for you to explore on your own after this deep dive.
Consider two of those fruits mentioned. Black sapote, which is known for its unusual dark, almost chocolate pudding-like texture and mild flavor. And feijoa, also called pineapple guava, known for its strong, aromatic, slightly gritty pineapple meets guava flavor profile. What military mission or operational analogy do you think a spread or preserve made primarily from black sapote and feijoa would represent? And thinking tactically, what specialized ingredients or specific preparation techniques would be required to achieve its unique operational objective of flavor, texture, and theme?
That requires synthesizing pretty much everything we've covered today. The analogies, the techniques, the ingredient pairings. A good challenge. Thank you for joining us for this very comprehensive, instructional deep dive into Clementine Command.
Until next time, stay well informed.